Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I have some good news for some countries. So join me. Let me just put my phone number in here. Good morning. Good morning. All of you that have been asking me about when are we going to get an update about the 75 country pause. I got some updates for you. Good morning, Afi from Tampa. Tolkien's good morning. If this is your first time tuning in, good morning. Welcome. My name is Aisha Chidole, so I'm an immigration attorney out here in Atlanta, Florida, but I represent clients in all 50 states in the United States. We handle family immigration, valid cases, humanitarian cases like T visas, U visas, SIJS. We also handle removal cases. If you want to schedule a consultation, call us, and our number here is 678-325-1037. You can also send a WhatsApp to 404-333-8751. I pinned both our phone numbers on here. So you can definitely schedule a call. And if you keep typing the same question over time, it's very obnoxious. I will probably not answer your question because I think it's very obnoxious and rude to others that are on there, like to keep typing the same questions, meaning that you're not allowing other people's questions to appear. Again, these lives, I do them just out of the benevolence of my heart. Nobody is entitled to me answering your question, but you don't just start typing and typing and typing like 10 questions where we can't even see anything else. You're not going to get your answer that way. Okay. So just to get right into it, the first thing I want to talk about is a 75 country pause. So as you guys know, we've had a 75 country pause, which was just lifted by a federal judge on August 21st. And basically, similar to the pause in the United States, they've said basically it's unlawful, and that Marco Rubio does not have the authority to do that. Basically, this is at the discretion of the consular officer to make a determination on a case-by-case basis on who should be admitted for public charge or not public charge, but it should not be like a blanket rule for the country, but it should be based on an individual. So I want to make a few clarifications because, there's been a lot of overlapping pause versus ban. So this 75 country immigrant visa pause are going to be the pause that was instituted for public charge. Public charge, again, means if they feel or the government feels that people from that country or that person is likely to seek governmental assistance. So those are the people that those are the countries that they've classified. Now, there are some countries that had overlapping bans, and I'm going to use two different countries, for example, to simplify and explain. So, for instance, Nigeria has a 39 country partial ban, and they also had the 75 country immigrant visa pause. So what that means for them is that while that 75 country pause has been lifted, the 39 country partial ban has not been lifted. So they still cannot approve, i.e. someone from Nigeria for an immigrant visa or an F1 student visa and the likes, or B1, B2. That said, if you fall under like a fiance visa in Nigeria, for example, again, I just keep saying, for example, I'm just using this one country, for example, they will approve the fiance visa if you're eligible for it. Now, let's use another country, for example, like Jamaica or like Ghana. Jamaica and Ghana were not subject to the 39 country ban, but they were subject to the 75 country pause where they couldn't get their spousal green card or children green card, or whatever. Now that pause has been lifted. So if I were you and you are from one of those countries that only had the 75 country pause and you've been dilly-dallying, you better get your consular process going right now. If you already went through your consular process, you need to inundate them right now to make a decision on your case. And the reason why you need to inundate them right now is because, as you all know, anything basically that's contrary to this administration, they always file a lawsuit. Ultimately, we don't know if the lawsuit is going to work or not work, but the bottom line is that right now they're required to start processing those spousal visas, those children immigrant visas, so get your stuff done. Like, push it over to the consulate. Make sure that your files with the consulate. If you've had an interview, reach out to the email that was given in the letter, basically saying that they refused it because of the pause. They need to start adjudicating those right now. So hopefully that's helpful to you guys. I'm gonna just jump right into questions. What if you submitted all documents showing that you lived with your spouse, but not the lease agreement? The lease agreement is just one document. Usually, when USCIS is reviewing cases, they're looking at the totality of the evidence. So they just want to see that you have some evidence. So if you have some evidence, submit some evidence, okay? So how about Liberia? I'm not sure what question you're asking me about Liberia. What are you asking me? Okay. How about those who receive a 221G after the interview? It's going to depend on what your 221G is. 221G means that they've refused it because they can't make a decision based on something. In some consulates, they were given that based on the pause versus the 221F, which they were given based on the ban. So it depends on what it is for. Sometimes it's because they need something else from you. If they need something else from you, you definitely want to get that. So they can make a decision. Again, I don't know what country you're from, so I can't really tell you what it is, okay? Ahmed, I'm from Egypt. I had an expedited request approved since 2023 for VAWA and I-485. My VAWA was approved on 4/2026. So far, no news about the I-485. I sent an inquiry to the hotline, but no answer. What should I do? Well, if you send an inquiry to the hotline, it means that you're working with an attorney. You should probably reach out to your attorney to find out what they can do. But also, we are seeing up to a year. Because you get approved on expedite doesn't mean that all the parts of your cases will be approved within a reasonable time. Okay, so if you are working with an attorney, your attorney should be able to advise you because the attorneys are the only ones who use the hotline inquiry line. So I'm assuming that you are working with an attorney, Ahmed. If not, you are still in a normal timeline. They'll probably be scheduling you for an interview. So right now, the interviews for valid cases are backed up. I have interviews this week. Tomorrow morning, I wouldn't be on live. I have 2 back-to-back VAWA interviews, one for an approved VAWA, and we're doing a 485, and one for like the 360 and 485. But both of those cases were submitted. One was submitted November of 2021. The other one was submitted early 2022. So they're still working within those window in terms of interviews. So hopefully you get one, but I would not hold my breath. We're in August and you just got approved in April. You're probably looking at another 6 months minimum, to 8 months, basically 12 months. All right. All right. Someone is asking me if the ban is lifted from Liberia. I actually don't know all the list of the countries, to be honest. I cannot memorize that. I have too much in my brain, so I just memorize the ones that come on my live all the time and ask me. So let me see if I can get the list up, and I will tell you if Liberia is on the list. But you can also just go to Department of State. There's just too many countries. There's nobody that can remember all 75 countries offhand, or if you can, good on you. I can't. So let's see. Is Liberia? Okay, yeah. So Liberia is on the 75 country pause list. So again, if you're from Liberia, that pause is lifted as long as you don't have a ban. I'm going to run really quickly with some of the countries that were on the pause list, but you want to confirm if you were on the ban list, because again, if you're on the ban list, you're still kind of not eligible. It's only those that were on the pause list. The pause list, again, is the 75 country pause for public charge. Some countries that were on it were, of course, Afghanistan, Albania, Algeria, Antigua and Barbuda, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Bahamas, Bangladesh, Barbados, Belarus, Belize, Bhutan, Bosnia, Herzegovina, I'm probably pronouncing that terribly, Brazil, Burma, Cambodia, Cameroon, Cape Verde, Colombia, Cote d'Ivoire, Cuba, Democratic Republic of Congo, Dominica, Egypt, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Fiji, the Gambia, Georgia, Ghana, Grenada, Guatemala, Guinea, Haiti, Iran, Iraq, Jamaica, Jordan, Kazakhstan, Kosovo, Kuwait, Kyrgyz, I can't even pronounce it, Kyrgyz Republic, Laos, Lebanon, Liberia, Libya, Moldova, Mongolia, Montenegro, Morocco, Nepal, Nicaragua, Nigeria, North Macedonia, Pakistan, Republic of the Congo, Russia, Rwanda, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Senegal, Sierra Leone, Somalia, South Sudan, Syria, Tanzania, Thailand, Togo, Tunisia, Uganda, Uruguay, Uzbekistan, and Yemen. So those are the countries. Now, those are the countries on the 75 country list. Some of these countries are also on the 39 country ban. So as long as you're not on the 39 country ban, you're good. How can you check this? Just go to travel.state.gov and check it yourself. I don't want to spend the whole life like listing all these questions, so you can check it there. All right. Okay. What about N400? I'm not sure what your question is, but N400 is not an immigrant visa, so there was never a ban or a pause on that. Remember, immigrant visas are visas that give you basically a green card. So those were the things that were subject to the ban. They did have that initial pause in the United States of N400 approvals and green card approvals, but that pause was lifted since June. So even though there is an appeal going on, they have said that they must process those cases. Every Friday, I try to process people post results and tag countries so you can see that they have lifted and they are adjudicating those cases from those countries. So if you check my Friday posts, you'll be able to find that in there. Okay. Good morning. I was called for a second interview and the officer said my partner doesn't need to come. It's only for I-485. What does that mean? He gave me 2 weeks verbally, but I haven't received anything. He gave you 2 weeks verbally for what? I'm not sure what you mean. Like if you have an interview, you need to have an interview notice or you will not be permitted into the building. So when you say he gave you 2 weeks verbally, I'm not sure what that means. If they're calling you for an I-485 interview, granted an I-485 interview is your own admissibility and doesn't require your spouse. What I would want to know is if your I-130 was already approved. If your I-130 wasn't approved, I will go with your spouse. All right. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, Kwame says, good morning. What should we do after this pause has been lifted? I went for the interview at the consulate last 3 weeks ago, I guess. Kwame, I'm just taking a wild guess that you're from Ghana based on your name. So for you, the pause has been lifted and you don't have any ban. I would immediately contact the consulate. Usually they should give you like a result sheet after your interview with a paper where they either tell you 221G or because of the proclamation, they can't issue you your visa. So I would reach out to that email. If not, you want to use the Visa Navigator works for some consulates and some it doesn't, but that would be the first place I would say you should start. But you want to reach out sharp before something changes, okay? From one of the 39 country pause, my I-485 interview has been done 6 weeks after no decision. Any advice? Well, the pause has been lifted for the 39 countries here in the United States, not outside the United States. 6 weeks is not a long time post-interview for them to make a decision. So it's not something that you should really do anything about. After 90 days, if you've not heard anything, then you want to definitely follow up with them. If there's something that they need from you, if nothing else, you might want to consider congressional assistance to get them to move the needle, okay? Okay, let's see what else we got. How long does it take after filing the K-1 fiancé visa? Does it take to be sent to the embassy? Roughly how long will it take to get the interview in Jamaica? The questions are too specific. I can't give you a specific answer because it all depends. Sometimes some people, they make their decisions quickly at the I-129F stage, and some people, it takes a little longer. It just depends on what you filed. I would say right now, we are seeing I-129Fs, the decisions can come anywhere from like 4 to 7 months. If you're from a country that had the ban and the pause, we're seeing those move quicker. Like we had someone, we submitted their fiancé visa in like January. They got their approval in April. And now they have their fiance consular appointment on September 1st, which is what, just about 9 months. So it just really depends. I'm saying 9 months, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to take 9 months. This is going to vary depending on the officer, your own particular case. But I would say 9 to 15 months, from start to finish, seem to be the trend right now on fiance visas. So it just depends on what stage you are. Once they've approved your I-129F, within about a month or two, they will send it to the consulate. And then you can then register for your CAC to fill out your or your fiance for your fiance to fill out their own visa application, pay the fee, and then schedule the interview. So that's how it works. So once you go in there to schedule the interview, you're going to be scheduling based on when the next available date is. Okay. My IR1 application was documentary qualified on January 2025. Since then, no appointment date has been scheduled from Ghana. That's about a year and 9 months. So if you're married to a US citizen, that's a really long time for you not to be scheduled yet. I would reach out to the consulate or go to the public inquiry form on CAC just to do a status update to see what's the delay in scheduling you, just to make sure they forwarded that over. Okay. How long does it take after filing the I-130 for a spouse in Gambia, Africa, to get a ticket number and approval? So once you file your I-130 and USCIS fees it in, meaning they collect their fees, you should receive a receipt notice. For most people, that's going to be anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks if you do a snail filing. If you do an online filing, usually in like 48 hours, you should at least see a receipt online. And then if they're sending a physical mail, like, well, with I-130s, they don't necessarily send a physical mail. They only send it with cases that need like the green paper, like the I-751. So depending on how you filed it. And speaking of that, I hope you guys know that USCIS is moving to online filing, meaning they want these files to be prepared online, submission online right now. If you are submitting a form where the online option has been available for up to 180 days. So they haven't finalized when this has become mandatory, but this is the interim rule. And so you definitely want to look into that. Obviously, if you're at our firm, we're already doing that for our clients. And also personally, I know that it's a mixed bag of reviews. The problem with online filing is their system oftentimes makes mistakes or still has like kinks that need to work out. But honestly, for the hundreds of dollars that we spend every week mailing out files, printing out paper, like I literally have no problem reducing half of that to online filing personally. I just hope that, since USCIS is creating this mass filing for most people, that they will make sure that the system is working well, so that it doesn't become a logistical nightmare or whatever. But you want to definitely make sure that if you are doing that you understand the process of filing online, because it's a little complicated, but it's doable. The other thing to update you guys again, and I've reminded you guys about this several times, as of September 18th, there is a brand new I-485 form. If you want to get a preview of it, USCIS has posted the preview online. If you go on uscis.gov/I-485, scroll down to the bottom in supplemental evidence or so, you can see a preview of the form. I talked to you guys last week about the new requirements for public charge, where they're looking at family ties, assets, educational background, really they focus on that, really occupational ability to work, your assets, and your financial situation. That's really where the core focus is on. And if you have ever taken any kind of public assistance where a means test was required, a means test means that they had to check your income to make you eligible for it. So again, having one thing is not an automatic disqualifier. They're going to look at everything to make a decision. Okay. Haiti ban, please. How about Haiti ban, please? Because my sister went to do an interview when they sent her for DNA with my mom. Then received an email that said there's a ban for Haiti. Yes, Haiti has a full ban. So meaning even though they have lifted the 75 country pause and Haiti was on that list, Haiti has a full ban, meaning they are not approving at the consulate for Haiti right now. So you would have to wait until they lift that ban from Haiti. Okay, so let me use this. This is also another good example to use. Let me use Nigeria and Haiti, for instance. Nigeria has a partial ban. Haiti has a full ban. If someone has a fiance in Nigeria, they can approve the fiance visa. In Haiti, they cannot right now. Well, if you're in Haiti, you're probably going to Bahamas or elsewhere to do your interview. So that's kind of like the difference. The full ban would be just 19 countries. There are only 19 countries that have a full ban. Again, I can't list all those countries on here, but you can certainly, check online. I'm from Democratic Republic of Congo. My vow adjustment of status and EAD has been rejected twice. Now they said because of the fees. I don't understand why. Contact an attorney, Patricia, so that they can file your application properly for you. There's clearly something that is going on with your application that is not being submitted correctly. Again, if I were you, I would never. If I were y'all, I would never be submitting an immigration application in this regime without an attorney. But again, I can say that because, I am seeing what is happening on the ground. There is just, you guys cannot even imagine like the complexity and the pushback from USCIS. You guys will say, oh, this is just like a scare tactic. You don't have to hire me. You can hire whoever you want to hire. But I wouldn't do it. I would never do it, But again, I'm someone that likes my stuff done properly. So, Kwame, I just responded to you. So your follow-up question, my advice remains the same. Your motivational page, any update about traveling with advanced parole? Not sure what update you're looking for. Right now, if you've overstayed your time, you should not be traveling out of the country. If you've overstayed your time, you should not be traveling outside the country. Let me repeat that. If you've overstayed your time in the United States, you should not be traveling outside the country. Okay. All right. How do we buy you coffee? I don't drink coffee, but I really appreciate that. Best way to support me, share my post, share my video. Would love that. Thank you so much for your help. Is free reduced lunch part of the public charge assessment? The question is going to be, who is getting the free reduced lunch? Is it a U.S. citizen? If it's a U.S. citizen, that's fine. Otherwise, they will be considering all public benefits that requires a means test for the applicant. Remember, again, one thing is not generally enough for them to disqualify you. I would say that free reduced lunch really should not be. But again, this is a new law. We'll have to see how it's assessed. Think about things like food stamps, SNAP, living Section 8 housing, long-term, I always confuse Medicare and Medicare, whichever one basically that is not for the older folks. Like all of those things, those are things that could potentially disqualify. And something new that they've added is financial aid, which is really messed up, by the way. Financial aid is going to be considered as a negative factor. This is financial aid for college, because basically, to me, what it's saying is that they don't want immigrants to get an education, because if they get an education and better themselves, they're going to get great jobs, which you would think that you would want for the United States. So I think it's really messed up. But that said, it will be considered a negative factor, but not the only factor. Okay, so everything that they've said, again, because I want to be very clear so that my words are not misconstrued. One thing is not what is going to deny you. They are going to look at everything and what you're bringing to the table in terms of submission. What does your sponsor or your petitioner make to determine whether or not you'll be a public charge? And they have also said if they will be a public charge, if the officer determines that that person will be a public charge, USCIS, the USCIS officer can also offer a bond, but they can say, I think you're going to be a public charge, but we can offer you a bond to pay temporarily, so that we know that you're not going to take public assistance, and then we can approve you. Again, this will happen after September 18th. So once we see how this is happening, I will be able to give you more information. Okay. So Mami Poku, you said that the person who got the free lunch is a U.S. citizen. U.S. citizens are entitled to every single benefit that every U.S. citizen gets, regardless of where their parents are from. So that should not affect you in any way. Okay. Okay. Is it a safe time to travel to Nigeria? 10-year permanent resident. Been hearing some events returning back into the country. As long as you obtained your green card legally, you shouldn't have any problem traveling. It's only if you got your green card illegally or lied, or misrepresented something, but otherwise you shouldn't have any problem traveling as a 10-year green card holder. People travel every day all the time, including, people in my own family. So as long as you don't have any issues, you should not have any problem. As long as and then if you have any criminal records, that's the only other time that I would recommend that you speak with an attorney to determine if your criminal record is a deportable offense. If you've been accused of something criminal, but they have not made a determination on the case, I will also recommend that you do not travel outside the country. Okay? So, as a green card holder, they can call you into secondary inspection. That's fine. Just make sure that in secondary inspection that you answer the questions appropriately and correctly. And again, if you are a green card holder and you travel outside the country, you do not want to stay outside of the United States for 6 or more months. You want to make sure that you come back before then, because if you don't come back before then, there is a possibility that they can say that you've broken your continuity and they can actually place you in removal. So you want to make sure that you come back before the 6-month timeline. And specifically, I'm speaking to those of you, especially those of you who are parents, or when I'm talking about parents that are like my own parents' age. I know, like, for a lot of immigrants, sometimes their parents want to live back and forth. If you're doing that, you want to be mindful. You want to be mindful to make sure that you're establishing that U.S. is your main residence, because that can get you, detained, where you would have to go to court to explain where you live, basically. All right, guys, I got to jump off. If I didn't get to your question, schedule a consultation. Again, our number is 678-325-1037. If you want personal advice, schedule a consultation. If you want a law firm that knows what they're doing in submission, schedule a consultation. Let's talk about your case. And again, if you're from the 75 country pause and you've had an interview, sharp, send those emails right now to the consulate, to get your case back on deck. All right, guys, have a lovely day. I will not be on live tomorrow. I'm going to be in interviews all day at USCIS tomorrow. So I won't be on live, but I will be back on Wednesday morning. Wednesday morning, I should be back. All right, guys, have a good one. Bye.